You ever stop and think about what it really takes for a huge company to send its people into some of the most dangerous, most remote places on Earth? I mean, it's not just about booking a flight online. No, there is a hidden playbook, a secret set of rules for doing business when the stakes are incredibly high. And today, we're going to crack it open. We're going to see what it actually takes to operate right on the edge.
So it all boils down to this one question, right? How do you protect your most valuable asset, your people, when their job takes them into these volatile, far-flung, or even hostile territories? The risks are just massive. You got everything from political chaos to just the basic dangers of traveling somewhere totally off the grid.
And the answer? Well, it's not some vague mission statement. It is a precise strategic document. In this case, we're actually looking at a safety standard from Panaust, a global mining company. And trust me, this is less of a boring old manual and more of a masterclass in how to manage risk.
Okay, so this is it. This is the document itself, the Panaust Safety Standard. And its scope is just huge. We're talking every single person, every flight, every car, every hotel. The idea behind it all is simple, but it is so powerful. Leave absolutely nothing to chance.
All right, so let's start with the first big topic, getting there, air travel. And what's really fascinating is that this playbook makes one thing crystal clear right from the get-go. Not all flights are the same, not even close. The risk can change dramatically depending on how you're flying.
So, what's the big difference? Well, on one side, you've got your commercial airlines, the regular scheduled flights that any of us can book a ticket on. And on the other side, you have charter flights. These are private hires, where you're basically renting the whole aircraft for a specific trip. And believe me, this distinction is absolutely fundamental to their entire safety strategy.
So how do they figure out the risk for a regular commercial flight? It is all about the data. They use a system called Airline Scope that gives airlines a safety score. If an airline scores a 6 or higher, that's low risk. You're good to go. But if an airline scores below a 4, that flight is a hard no. It is completely off limits unless you get very special high-level approval. It's safety by the numbers, pure and simple.
Okay, that makes sense for major airlines that are tracked in big databases. But what happens when you need to charter a tiny plane to get to a super remote work site? Those flights aren't in some global system. So how in the world do you make sure they're safe? Well, this is where the playbook gets even more intense.
The level of scrutiny here for charter flights is just wow. It's a super strict 3-step process. First, the charter company itself has to get vetted with an information request. Then, the company's internal risk team has to go through a detailed checklist and sign off on it. And finally, you still need approval from a senior manager or, in some cases, the CEO. Just think about that for a second. Every single private flight has to clear this insane, multi-layered inspection. So, you've got a safe flight locked in. Great. But the risks don't just disappear when the plane touches down. What about the danger on the ground? Well, the playbook has a whole different system for assessing the destination itself.
And you'll see it's a pretty similar tiered system. Low risk location, no problem. Medium risk? Okay, you're going to need a specific, detailed travel plan. But if a place is rated as high or extreme, you're not going, period. Travel is basically forbidden unless you get personal approval from the very top, the managing director and CEO. At the very, very top of that scale are what they call war risk countries. These are exactly what they sound like. Places with active conflict, insane volatility. I mean, to even think about sending someone here, you need a green light from the CEO, the legal department, the risk team, and the company's insurance provider. It's an almost impossible hurdle to clear, and for very, very good reason.
Okay, so let's say a trip to a really challenging remote place does get approved. The planning doesn't stop there. Now the playbook shifts focus to survival, the specific gear and the protocols you need when you're truly out in the middle of nowhere.
First off, the playbook has a very specific definition of a hostile environment. And it's not just about conflict. It's any place where you can't be sure you could land a plane safely in an emergency, where you can't be protected from the weather, or where you can't even guarantee a search and rescue team could find you. Think vast deserts, dense jungles, you get the picture. So if you're traveling through one of these areas, a survival pack is mandatory. And we're not talking about a little first aid kit here. This thing has to have enough food and water for everyone on board for at least 48 hours. It has to be customized for that specific environment, and it has to be stored in a special crash-proof container. Suddenly that abstract idea of risk feels pretty real, doesn't it?
So we've covered the planes, the places, and the survival packs. But there is one more rule.
buried deep in this playbook that might be the most fascinating one of all. It's a rule that's all about planning for the absolute, unthinkable worst-case scenario.
Okay, get this. According to this safety standard, on any mid-risk commercial flight, the company's top 3 executives, that's the CEO, the chief financial officer, and the general manager of operations, they are literally forbidden from traveling on the same plane together.
So why? I mean, why would you go to such an extreme length? It sounds almost paranoid, doesn't it? What possible reason could there be for separating your entire top leadership team on what's supposed to be a relatively safe flight?
And the answer is actually brilliant. It all comes down to one core concept: business continuity. See, it's not just about protecting the individual people. It's about protecting the company itself. This rule is a firewall. It prevents a single catastrophic event from completely wiping out the organization's leadership. It makes sure that no matter what happens, the company can go on.
And here's the thing. This entire incredibly detailed playbook, it's not some dusty old document that just sits on a shelf. It's a living, breathing thing. The company formally reviews and updates it every 3 years, because when you operate in these kinds of high-stakes environments, safety isn't a project you finish. It has to be a constant, evolving process. So getting a peek inside this corporate playbook, it really shows you this hidden world of risk assessment and planning that's happening all around us. It proves that behind so much of what we do, there are these invisible rules designed to manage chaos. And it kind of makes you wonder, right? What other unseen playbooks are quietly guiding your life, your work, and your safety in ways you've never even noticed?